Hello everybody, welcome to the Jack Rigo Productions station as my son's scrolling through his phone. We are going to do a video on what is wrong with the Denver Broncos in 2022. I expected so much out of this team with Russell Wilson coming, and it's basically been a train wreck, unfortunately. It's been great defense and one of the most pathetic offenses I've ever seen as a Bronco fan since 1983. Even when Tommy Maddox played, even when
Tim Tebow?
no, even when Tebow played, they had more than 14 points a game. Even with Case Keenum, they were better than this on offense. So, okay, come on.
Let's see what's wrong with them.
Okay, go ahead. You start first.
First off, I think their coach is a complete and utter bozo.
I agree with that one.
He is very aggressive.
Put that down.
He's very aggressive. He's too aggressive.
A couple of times this year, it really cost them. Against the Colts, 4th and 1 at the end of the game. Basically, all you need is 1 yard. Run it. Don't try to throw the ball in the end zone. No, instead Wilson throws it and he misses the guy who was wide open, and they lose 12-9 to the Colts, who looked absolutely atrocious that night. The Denver defense was all over them. I think they had 6 or 7 sacks. Then against the Seahawks, the first game of the year, tries to kick a 64-yard field goal as opposed to letting Wilson go for it on 4th and 5. Then there's been numerous other times that basically they don't know the play clock. The personnel looks awful. I mean, there's great wide receivers supposedly with Jerry Jeudy and Sutton. Sutton's done okay. Judy's had some flashes, but they haven't gotten consistently open. KJ Hamlin's been hurt. I don't even know their other receivers because they're all pretty bad. Kendall Hinton, and then some other guys. Some guy named Cleveland. Maybe he should play for the Browns with a name like Cleveland. But
our wide receivers are terrible.
Guys should get open. If guys don't get open, run some rub routes. Have 2 guys cross over each other. Crossing patterns. Just down and out. It's basic football. I mean, it's like Hackett's never seen football before with the offense that they run. It's pretty sad. Or even go out, stand there at 7 yards, throw it to them. Then after you do that a couple times, stop and go. You got guys with some speed. They have a decent tight end. I can't remember his name. Dulcich was pretty good. Made a couple of nice plays. But it's been very frustrating. Russell Wilson looks like he's unsure of himself. The line will go back and he's like this. It's like, Russell, run the ball. You used to run with Seattle. Scramble, run the ball on the outside. Take 7 yards.
Maybe the coach is not letting him.
Well, guess what? If you want to win, run the ball. Go out and scramble. That's what you did with Seattle for so long. You're only 33 years old. You shouldn't be afraid to run the ball. Elway was 37 in the Super Bowl, and he was running and getting smashed. So, even 38, he ran for a touchdown in the Super Bowl. You can't be afraid to run. Scramble around a little bit, that's all. Even Rodgers last night, he ran a couple of times. Not that they played good, they didn't, but Rodgers can move around. He's 40. So, what else do you think is wrong?
I think the offensive line is terrible.
They are pretty bad. They've had some injuries. Garrett Bowles is out for the year, their best offensive lineman. One of their other guys is hurt too. They don't hold very well. The scheme bad, the design of the plays, and they don't run the ball at all. Terrible run the ball. Ever since Javonte Williams got hurt, it's just been awful. And then you have Melvin, the fumble of Gordon, who just ridiculous. Fumble, cost them games last year, cost them games this year. 2 times he fumbled in games, the first 2 games of the year, cost them both times. That's why I don't trust them afterwards. They had the game against the Colts that was 4th and 1. He should have been running for a yard instead of being scared to run the ball. It's just been play after play, just utter disaster.
I think it's time to fire their offensive coordinator too.
Well, yeah, everything together. They should clean house after the season.
Keep the defensive coordinator.
I would have fired right now. I would have fired right now. Right now, the way they've played with the expectations, I would have get rid of them. Start over, interim coach like the Colts did, and then start. Hey, I would hire Frank Reich in a second. He's had some success in the league.
But you can't hire him right now, can you?
Why not? He's not coaching. Technically, it's not likely. It probably never ever would happen because the Colts are still paying him. But he doesn't have a job. He can get fired by anybody. What will happen is the new team that hires somebody who's under contract, they don't have to pay them. The other team's still paying them, so you're basically like getting them for free. So,
now on the flip side, let's talk about my Eagles.
The Eagles have had a very good season. Unfortunately, last week they played poorly against Washington. But other than that, they've been great most of the year. Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate. They have two good receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. They actually have a good tight end too, who's hurting now.
He's out until week 14.
They have good running back and
Miles Sanders. Along with Kenneth Gainwell.
Kenneth Gainwell's decent.
Boston's gone.
Their defense is good.
The problem is
Fletcher Cox.
But Fletcher Cox has been complaining a lot, I've seen.
But he's a good player.
Not this year, I know.
Who else do they have on defense? You follow them better than I do.
Brandon Graham is their star defensive end.
How about in the backfield?
As in the linebackers?
The defensive backs.
They have Avonte Maddox, who's hurt. Darius Slade.
Darius Slade's good.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson has got 5 picks on the year. Who else? They lost Rodney McLeod, who was a big loss, but they really don't miss him right now. But Darius Slay has been very good, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
What do you think their final record's going to be?
I think it's going to be like...
They have 1 loss now, so...
I think they'll probably lose 3 more times, so I think 13-4.
13-4 is a good record. I would take that. The Broncos will be lucky to be 7-10 the way they're going.
If the Eagles go 13-4 and lock up the first round bye, I would be pretty happy.
Yeah, well, they have a chance at it right now. Well, Minnesota is tied with them right now, but they own tiebreaker because they beat Minnesota earlier this year.
But you gotta watch out because the Giants and the Cowboys are right behind the Eagles.
That's right. They're only 1 game back, so you have to be careful. Need to win. They have to beat the Colts this week. It's very important.
Yes.
It's a game they should win. But you got to be careful in the NFL because if you're not, teams can come up and bite you. Because Washington is not as good as Philly, and they beat them, so anything can happen in these games.
I was a little shocked.
It happens. It's the NFL.
There were a lot of bad calls in that game too.
They played poorly though too. They didn't deserve to win.
It didn't help that they were some bad calls, but
they couldn't stop Washington's running game.
That's because they lost Jordan Davis, their star defensive tackle.
And Heineke came up big for them too.
It didn't help that they had no defensive lineman pressure.
It didn't help that somebody caught a long pass and he fumbled.
Quez Watkins.
It was awful. They would have been right going in for a touchdown to take the lead. Guys running with him, and someone from Washington came back and punched the ball out, and Washington recovered, and that was basically
He should have just stayed down.
Right, he could have stayed down, exactly. All right, let's just sum it up now between both teams. Broncos stink. Go ahead.
Eagles great.
Eagles are good, very good. Hopefully they make a run. Hopefully Denver doesn't embarrass them the rest of the year. I'd be. So they have 3 wins right now. If they ever could get to 8 and 9, I'd be thrilled. Just to compete and make the season more interesting.
And unfortunately, if they were to tank, they can't get a high
draft
pick.
They can't get the draft pick because it goes to Seattle, who's had a good year so far.
So their best bet is to hope San Francisco's bad.
And they're not going to be. San Francisco's a good team. Well, thank you all for watching this magnificent video. I hope you all have a wonderful evening.